And then the two main things are the press release, how we're gonna roll out some communications, and then also what our next steps are for the interlocal agreement and working with the lawyer, etc. So what I did was I put together a 2-pager here, and this is literally, I did it quickly, so I have no, this is just to start the discussion on a rollout for information, and I thought we should do a press release in a relatively short amount of time in the next week or so, just so everybody knows what's going on. You know, give an intro one of the like is happening around internet, so we should let people know. Still, let's talk about doing a presentation to the community with Consolidated. November, we'll do another one, either with, if we get the grant or if we don't get the grant, to go the next steps. And then after that, we'll have to discuss what to do. I mean, I would think we would want to continue on with when we get updates from Consolidated as far as project management goes on timing on different, you know, when things are available and so forth and so on.
You mean in grants or?
In like next year's time frame, when they're actually starting to do work. So then I just took a minute and wrote down a intro one, and then I stopped because I was so wordy and I wasn't sure if I was going in the right direction or
I
not.
can offer that.
Okay, perfect. Did I hand you one?
Yes, we have one up here.
So it's on that.
Yeah.
Okay, you already read it. So I guess, what do you think?
It's too wordy.
Yes.
I think that it should focus, the preliminary focus should be on what we're doing to get it going exclusive of the grant, and then enter the grant information option that has now become available.
As in follow on.
Because if the grant doesn't come through,
Right.
you know, it's made it look like we've front loaded the grant. So I think we should front load the efforts that we're making to make it happen on our end, and then tell them about the grant option that has become available and that we are, you know, eagerly participating in that as another option.
Okay, so the first one would eliminate the second and third, all these paragraphs, except, or would we highlight the solution?
I would completely rewrite it.
Yeah, okay. Thank
You need the proper format. I agree that we should, mention that start out with all 4 municipalities have voted and approved, entering discussions. This is where we're at. And then just lay it out and then go into the strategy of moving forward as agreed, to have a 2-pronged approach, to form the interlocal agreement, look at financing options, and then do the grant.
Question, does the public even know what we're looking at for broadband? So maybe the first one should be, hey, this is what we're looking at for broadband. This is like
Well, that would have to be included in we all just voted. This is, this is the outline. We have an RFP, looking at Consolidated, forming the interlocal agreement. I would have to sit down and just write the whole thing out.
Okay.
Yeah.
That would be fabulous.
Tomorrow.
Oh, fabulous.
Well, if you're gonna do it that quickly, it's yours.
No, and I mean, we can communicate by email.
Oh, yeah, we could, definitely.
Right?
Yeah, and then, like, whatever was done here would have been submitted to everybody for review anyways, right?
Yeah.
And then,
I am leaving town for the weekend. It's the only weekend I'm going to go away.
And are you gonna be
I'm
working
sorry.
on your local agreements?
I hope not.
All right, so the first one will be the overview and intro. The second one will be about the grant. Will we still do a grant one, or? I'm just trying to put some timing so we don't lose track of,
Well,
or not even mention the grant.
so you meaning the second one, the September, October one?
No, I mean, we could do some in between, right?
I think that we should work to get CCI to make a comment on what they're gonna provide, because they have a serious, problem with their perception.
Credibility.
Credibility, thank you. I would look for, comment from them, how they're gonna address it, what their proposal is going to offer the area.
Well, now, you're gonna have to be a little generic there, because either we own it or they own it.
Don't have to
We
get
don't-
into that.
Okay.
They have.
So
they
are you
have-
talking about just like
a
they're
credibility.
willing to offer us
This
100
is
over
what-
100, 50 over 50 at statewide competitive
They
rates?
can, I think they need to just fess up and explain why they can't take on any more,
Well, so
customers.
to me, that's a presentation. That,
I think we could do a press release, a presentation, we gotta have people show up.
And you could get a one sentence quote from Jeff or who's the girl?
Jeff is terrible.
Will you
That's
write the quote and say, Jeff, will you agree with
Sign
this?
on.
Come on, that's how press releases work.
I would do a second one to talk about how this is going to upgrade the whole system. Does that make sense? And address their customer service issues that they currently have. Unless you think we should do something different.
Maybe we shouldn't talk about their problems in the first release.
No, in the second one, that's the second already.
Oh, okay. In the second release.
So a September, October presentation, are you talking about meetings, like meeting?
I was saying that we would have a community-wide presentation where they came with their 7 people who do their spiel and say, and then they get drilled by people who are going, oh, why can't we ask right now? You call, like, I mean, I asked them that question, but you call now and they say no, right? Or it's gonna be 6 months before.
Sure,
And
they
they
answered
answered
that.
it, in their presentation though, they answered it with, that would go away. Those issues would go away with this
Right.
new.
I think we can do that through press releases. Good. Understand.
I
We have to
don't-
have people to show up there.
Well, that's why
Well,
I'm
if you
thinking
don't
September,
have, if you
October.
don't have good credibility, you're more likely to believe someone whose eyes you can see than just someone's quote on paper.
Okay.
I know, I do think we should have a presentation, but that's,
What do you think about, having another quarterly style meeting? September would be 3 months from June, right? So that would be in time with that.
no, for the CCI
To
thing,
have this be an item on the agenda.
no. The only reason why I say no is because I think you need the school. I think we need to do work and get the room full. I mean,
Well,
I
why
think-
don't we look at just some printed material, not a press release, a mailer to our residents?
Expensive.
That's expensive.
Yeah, it is.
What about the video idea? Did that go away?
Yeah, you have internet. We have that issue.
I kind of like the public hearing idea.
Whatever, I
It's
think,
like a town, it's like those town hall
let's go
political
for it.
things.
And if it's a quarterly style meeting, then the people, the players in the game are present. You're all here. The players-
Yeah, like
it's
the-
not the
we didn't even-
players, we need the
People,
Public.
we need the public.
We didn't get the players the last time.
Well, there's two scenarios on this. If it's the grant, we don't need the
We don't
public,
need to do anything.
right? Because they're gonna be able to either have it, but we still want to announce that
Right.
this is all happening and it's gonna be a good thing and not we go on a 6-month bitch fest, right? So we wanna
So my thought process is.
manage their expectations and.
Right, I agree with you. You have the written
Right.
rollout, you have the press release. Should the press release identify the date, if there is a date, if you choose to suggest a date, to have a public hearing or public meeting
second
or
one, yeah.
workshop? Put that in the press release so they know what to expect next. And I really think it makes sense to keep the momentum going with the quarterly meeting. I think that's important for us as a community to do that. Broadband is the issue right now.
How many more people came? just your two people from Dallas.
We were the only ones that had full representation. Where the hell was
Because yours was a selectman meeting.
Yeah, that didn't work for
I
us.
was the only one from Sandy River.
Right, well, just to be clear, the only reason it was a selectmen meeting is because they were all gonna be in the same place at the same time. That's why we published it that way, run that way. That's the only reason why, so.
Have you
Didn't work for us.
ordinarily had, good attendance at quarterly meetings?
No.
That's the first one I've ever been to.
We, yes, yeah, well,
So it's not
we have.
And you don't necessarily need to, sorry, you don't necessarily need to advertise this as a quarterly meeting. You do need to statutorily to say these elected folks will be in the same place, same time. But you can advertise this as a workshop where you're going to.
Yeah, that's okay.
That's what I'm proposing.
Okay, yeah, that's
Just
fine.
having it be an agenda item, and then the people that wants to hear that, they can say, okay.
But I think you need to do it at a large venue.
I don't disagree.
And then I think we all need to
In
do
September, school will be
a
back in session.
whole ton of
We'll be able to use the building.
reminders. You know, if you care at all about internet and you want to have a say, you know, come to this
It's
meeting.
too bad. Do we have a date when we find, what's the?
November 15th
Okay.
16th.
or 16th, yeah.
It's in Boise, it's in Margaret.
Great.
Yeah, it's, August,
Well, they've already told us though that we did get the response from them that we were selected,
yes,
so that's good.
by Connect Maine.
Mhm.
And then it goes to the
Right.
national board, okay? They only have $288 million for the entire country.
Yeah, I know.
So
We only want 3.
it's out of our hands. August 17th is the application deadline. November 15th is selection. So, NTIA is having a webinar on August 4th. If anybody's interested to talk about this particular broadband infrastructure grant at 2:30. It's on their
And at this point,
website.
CCI is handling our application.
Yes.
So we don't need any more.
Well, I would like to see what they submitted since we signed our names to it. Should be in our record.
But they are handling that. Right.
Yes, but it is my understanding that there is supposed to be input from the community partners, if you'll remember it in the application. And they said, oh, no, you don't have to do that. It's Appendix C. Community
So-
response specifications, complete the section if you're a community provider.
Well, we'll just ask Sarah for
I
a copy.
And I have asked Jeff.
And no response. We'll ask again.
We're gonna have.
Okay.
So there very well could be more input, and I think we have documentation.
So who's the point person for consolidated?
Well, Jeff is supposed to be, Jeff.
From our side.
He's
Oh.
customer service, Sarah is, from us?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, because we don't have an agreement.
Right, so I would, yeah, that's what's been going, but Sarah's the person for this particular situation, the grant thing is Sarah.
Okay.
But to set up a presentation for the community in September, October timeframe would be all of them, Sarah and Jeff and, Russ.
Particularly.
Yeah, Jeff would not be my person to have present, I would have that original presentation they did to us here at the selectmen's meeting.
I wouldn't take
That
any of their
group.
time. Until we know what the grant is, I wouldn't bother those people.
Okay, so then we're not presenting the option what the solution is from consolidated to the public,
I mean, you can, but
so we don't need a quarterly meeting. You're arguing against what you just argued for.
until they know what they're doing, why would we have them come up here?
Well, we know what they're doing. We just don't know who's paying for it.
All right, so we're not gonna tell the public then I don't know why we're doing press releases at all, maybe, if we're not gonna tell the public anything. That's the only, I mean, we want buy-in from the public that this is gonna be a good thing. So they get a grant, they hear in January sometime, because Consolidated would never get back to them that in January, we won a grant. And then they hear nothing for another 6 to 12 months.
Well, I think that
Then
You have to
then
stick
they're gonna
with us.
hate Consolidated so much that all of our work will be for nothing.
I think we have to continue on with the press releases.
I think people need to know that we're.
And there's,
working hard on it.
and you can't just lob it all out there at once, because we need to keep the momentum going. So we announced that at all 4 municipalities approved entering the interlocal.
Approved talking about.
Talk,
entering
enter,
into it.
yeah, discuss it. And then consolidated response to the RFP. And looking at a two-pronged approach, and then you hit them again with the NTIA grant application come August.
Okay.
It's being submitted.
So let's get,
And then we work on their credibility
okay,
in September.
right.
So if we're gonna talk about the actual interlocal corporation, which is prong 2, would it still make sense to have that quarterly meeting in
For
September?
the interlocal thing.
Yeah, to talk about that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
But we really need people to show up. Because I continue to feel Rangeley Plantation's hesitation, and that is not what they voted for.
I think you're saying that Carrie's not a, clear representative of the mood in Rangeley Plantation.
Yeah, I would say that.
And we need to have a broader perspective from Rangeley Plantation. That would be helpful.
Well, that's, yeah, can I ask a question? Are we, I'm assuming, how do I phrase this? I know that my entire board is aware of this because they were at that meeting. And I'm assuming that you folks are, bringing that information back to the remaining assessors in your 2 plantations.
Mine were all in attendance.
Okay, do we have any
I
indication?
informed mine and we're all in.
So do we have any indication of Rangeley Plantation? I know that's what we're talking about. Do we know if all the assessors are up to speed, so to speak?
Assessors for Rangeley
State
Plantation.
Power and Scotland.
Should we have the quarterly meeting at Rangeley Plantation?
That's that,
That's a good idea.
That is a good idea.
if they're willing.
Okay, good. So Dallas was all there. Sandy River knows.
Sandy River
through-
wasn't all there, but.
But they know through you.
But they know through me and they're enthusiastic about it. I mean, we need it. We don't even have cell phone service.
Is that something we need to take up at a quarterly meeting at a later date?
What,
Cell phone
phone
service? There's no cell phone service anywhere.
I
don't know who
wanna
has
go
it.
over.
Let's put that on the economic opportunity agenda. I know it's come up before, but I'll put that on. Anyway, a little scatterbrain, but that was a question that I wanted to have answered, so. How do we embrace them? Do we?
We
ask
call
if
them, why don't we, can we, there's
Ask
nothing
Liz
that says
if
we can,
schedule the quarterly meeting at her town.
why don't we just call them? Why don't we just call Steve Power and Scott Milbury and,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very good idea.
okay.
So from my prior experiences with the quarterly meetings, and again, it's been a long time since we've had them, but those who show up are the ones whose town that it's in. And it usually was supposed to be, Rangeley, it's Rangeley Plantation, it's Sandy, that's how it was set up. So, yeah, we could have it
In
there,
Rangeley.
because we just had it in Rangeley, so let's.
Right. Do they have room if we have a crowd? Do they have a meeting?
They have enough
Oh,
room
it's as
for
big as
us,
this, For sure.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then bed inside. Okay. In the meantime, I'll reach out to Steve and Mr. Milbury.
I am sure that Laura Reynolds has talked to both of them.
Actually,
I do not know she's never, I'm not sure if she's done this since we had the quarterly meeting, but she has talked to them throughout this process and was disappointed when I told her they weren't there. Yeah.
okay. All right. Very good.
All right, so just to recap, Linda
Mhm.
is gonna write first press release tomorrow.
All right, Jess, I'll send them by email.
Send it by
I'll
email,
prepare
we'll go
comments.
for approval, and then we will go to the next press release after that, every like 3 weeks or so, we'll start.
Yeah, Yeah.
dribbling out. Okay, I'm fine with that. And then we'll have a more serious discussion on if we think we need to have an in-person type presentation to go through the whole solution
Further down the road.
further down the road.
I wanna have it in November when we can say we got the grant. Okay,
Me too. Very nice.
Well, if you
Well,
just-
November, people would come because, but it would certainly only be the people who live here, because there's nothing to do in November.
Well, they're the ones
Sorry.
who are
they're the
gonna
only
vote.
ones that can vote anyway.
Because if the answer is no on the grant, we're gonna be turning around real quickly and getting these people
Yeah.
all
We have
encouraged.
we have to have the agreement agreed upon.
Yeah.
We have to have financing lined up with dollar figures, because it has to go to vote.
Well, it won't be at right,
Pronto.
but pronto, yeah. So on the interlocal agreement thing, I'm a little confused and I'll just, when Kristen, she said she was gonna take a look at their proposal or their service agreement and then see if the recommendation for an interlocal corporation was the accurate one. And then we had the quarterly, so we never heard back about that, but then we had the quarterly meeting and Linda has contacted the lawyer. Yeah, they utilized, because there was still some question as to what is the best mechanism, right, to form this agreement.
Well, there was also a cost discussion, they came up again out of Rangeley implementation, so that I think that was also part of it.
No, I understand. So where we're at now, though, is we need to determine what's the best, we still need to determine what the best
Which way to go?
way to go is.
Yeah.
And did your lawyer have any commentary on that?
No, well, we asked, for an estimate.
Yeah.
Forming an interlocal corporation, and she said, based on the outline, which was to establish the entity to be approved by municipal vote to organize, negotiate a contract with CCI and finance upgrading the broadband infrastructure through a bond and or traditional financing resulting in a municipally owned, region-wide, high-speed and competitively affordable broadband infrastructure to every residence to be maintained and serviced by CCI for a fee over a period of 20 years. That was a synopsis. Establish a board of directors organized by a single municipal representative from each municipality and one non-municipal voting member. Authorize the board of directors to negotiate and enter a contract with CCI. Authorize the board of directors to pursue a bond as a single entity or negotiate separate funding for regional broadband. Establish allocation of liabilities and ownership. Establish a financial management plan. Establish a management plan for frequency of meetings and communication. Establish duration of initial contract through bill to end of bond term and exit plan options. Establish default plan. Establish a municipal plan of covering financial liability in the event of catastrophic default. And establish an exit timeline.
And she said,
Oh, sorry. She said she thought she could do that in 5 to 6 hours. She charges $175 an hour. Will it be any better? It'll be a legal agreement. It'll cost less than Pretty Clarity.
Yeah.
and how are we paying the lawyer?
That's the key question,
Oh,
right?
Rangeley's got a pretty good credit going, so. I don't know.
What, I don't know what that means, explain that to
Timmy
me.
said our bill is getting pretty large.
Yeah. I don't know, that's a reasonable quote, I don't dispute that.
She was showing that she had worked for Maine Municipal for many years
Yeah.
and went into her own practice and is focused solely on smaller municipalities.
We're using her now.
I know.
Okay,
So, I mean, it's not
So I guess the
a
thing is-
bargain or not, unless Rangeley Plantation, or
well,
somebody's like, hey, we're not paying for this.
Well, can it be added on to the bond? possible.
It's my understanding CCI, well, here's the thing, if we get the grant,
We don't need it.
CCI isn't reimbursing us legal fees. So this is our choice.
Well, that's not that much money.
No, it's not.
I mean, we have a very
But
small
even
amount in our legal account, but I think we could cover that.
Even
Our
So,
portion of
so we're
that.
talking, at 10 hours, that's less than $2,000, right?
Right.
$1,750, divided by 4.
Right.
All right, so maybe we just send that out to each place and say, will you approve the spending of this amount of money? $500 each for a lawyer to create the interlocal agreement. Is that a problem, do you think?
Who are we sending it to?
All 4,
Oh, the, like, Board of Selectmen and.
yeah, and then the 3 towns. And if 3 of them say yes, then if we move forward, we will want Rangeley Plantation to know that they would not be included in the proposal. Right? Then we'd have to renegotiate, but that's okay. But that's basically Rangeley Plantation saying they're not interested in moving forward with an interlocal agreement.
I think Rangeley Plantation, you know, maybe I'm not thinking straight, but I think when they hear actual numbers as opposed to,
I think that would be helpful.
you know, I think that's, they're more they respond more positively to.
I agree,
So
totally
like we
agree.
say, okay, it's $500 to have this interlocal agreement drawn up, not to exceed your portion of $500. I think we're more likely to get a positive response.
Agreed. I agree.
With Nancy.
Does that sound reasonable to you?
Is your board gonna have a problem with using a lawyer other than Freddie?
No, they said it in the meeting on,
Yeah,
it's like that Steve suggested it, right?
I
So,
would want some action from them before I went forward with it, but I don't think that.
Well, you would have the option of having them review it for you.
well, your town would review it anyways. Rangeley would review it,
Everybody.
would review it. Whether it came out of Rangeley, well, if it came out of Rangeley, you would already have it reviewed.
Yeah, I think I would want to look back at what we've already spent and say, this is what we spent on this effort. We've already contributed this much. I'd want to look at that before I made any recommendations to the board.
Okay.
But if we did that, I would want them to vote to say, yes, we agree to have this town's attorney draw up this agreement.
Well, it's not
is-
a town's attorney, it would be the interlocal agreements
Well, we
attorney.
have to form, right? We have to form
Oh, God.
the entity.
Got
Where is Kristen at this point? Has there been any further communication? Is she waiting
The last
for
communication was
instruction?
the one I shared with you, one I shared in
Right.
writing at the meeting.
When she
That
gave the
then,
price quote for what it would cost to do it.
Of that right there. Yeah, that was the most recent conversation.
This is the only thing.
Yes.
So she is waiting for further direction.
How much is she?
Per hour?
Yeah.
I think they get 200. It's at least 200.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
It's not a good enough price to.
No, it's not.
What if we took the outline? Okay, that was sent out, so this is what we're looking for. And we had each board give some input, or should we work on that and then present it so we can send it to Kristen? Because she's gonna have an endless list of questions, because that's what attorneys do. You need to tell them where you're going, what you want, what it should look like.
I agree.
Where is the?
I'm sorry, I must have totally missed this somehow. I didn't read
It
this.
was handed out,
Oh,
it was
they
available
handed it out.
on the table, and I think you already have,
Oh, I'm sorry about that, Kate. Yeah, I printed it, I think, the day of the meeting.
you can
It
have
was a
that.
supplement, right?
It was
Yeah.
a supplemental item, yeah.
Well, do we know the answers to any of these questions?
Well, how will
We've
major
answered our
repairs
board of
or-
directors.
Most would just be legal terminology.
That we're not involved with repairs or improvements at all.
No, we're not, but see, you have to realize what she was given to review is an interlocal agreement for Katahdin
That, right.
built, owns,
Yeah.
operates, and services.
But she
So,
also had the proposed service agreement with Consolidated. She looked at that before she wrote that too.
well, it should be clear that Consolidated is doing for maintenance and repairs.
Well, this is the one that Rangeley Plantation has trouble with, because
Oh,
they
we're gonna
like,
have a problem.
they want a real number.
That
Right,
timing.
or negotiate separate funding.
All right, we need to, so it looks like we need to combine these two things, because these are the questions that the fundamental overview of this interlocal agreement is here and in here, and there's some questions that need to be addressed by all of us, right?
Yeah.
So we could answer those before we go into a formal.
Absolutely.
So if we could send this,
I mean, if we're gonna get.
Joe, if you could get this electronically and then this electronically, and we'll ask everybody to look over it, see if they have it, if they can answer the questions, and if they have any additional questions and things that they want represented for their town. And then that's what's going in, and then and then after we do this, we're gonna be asking you to go to your town officers for a potential of up to $500 most likely in revenues.
We should be able to move this forward so we have all addressed concerns. So Rangeley Plantation.
Yeah. So I think with between these two documents, we should have we have a good start.
And I mean, it's July. No, you don't.
I don't have it either. Could you send it to me?
This is, what she just wrote.
Oh, that was me, but you don't need that. Yeah, since we're ripping it up and starting over again.
No, not this, I'm pointing to the wrong one. This.
Are you in the next meeting?
Well, I have to send it to you. I'll have to send it.
Okay. But I mean, if we just answered all of these questions.
I do, yeah. I asked Jeff for a clean copy of that because I didn't come home with it.
Okay, perfect.
All right, so I have that. What else is it you want me to send out? There's a one pager over there that I'm not sure I have.
That's what.
You don't, I'll have to send it out.
Okay.
So those two things, we're gonna review it, write our answers and questions and anything we want from to be added.
Do you want that sent to the delegates or all?
Delegates.
Delegates. Got it.
And they should
I don't
bring
think
it to their boards if they have questions.
All right.
Right. So what I'm gonna do, just to do a quick overview, is I will do a quick write-up of this meeting, send it to everybody too. So keep your eye out for a press release and these documents and, we won't schedule, I don't think we should need to schedule the next meeting, because we're gonna do this all by email as far as approvals go for the press releases.
Yeah,
And then we'll be timing if we're gonna go forward to our select boards, right, to ask for money.
Do you agree, since I have two assessors in the room, that we should tentatively schedule a quarterly meeting?
Yes, so that we can get a truer sense of Rangeley Plantation's pulse.
Sometime in September.
makes good sense.
Okay.
Is Carrie first assessor? I thought Scott was.
I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I don't know.
That might take.
Now, what I am led to understand is that in plantations, assessors are really all equal.
Well, y'all get one vote.
Right.
I get the big bucks. I mean, what
I
can I
know.
say to
You get a little more money, you gotta do a little more.
I do a lot more, but, anyway.
I started not first.
I know you
To
did.
do the roads. I only have one road I have to do.
Okay. Let's keep the communication going by email.
Yeah.
I think that's helpful.
I think that will be good. I agree. But I do think we need to start letting people in on what's going on.
Can I make a suggestion? I know that you guys are gonna save it anyway, but depending on who's writing up the press releases, to make sure they're saved together in one file somewhere. So when you do have your public workshop, you can combine those press releases for a handout. The mailing's a good idea, it's just expensive. So if you have a public workshop, make sure there's handouts to give out prior and kind of reflect on what you had your press release.
And then the
Pretty
handouts can
organized,
go in each of your town offices too.
I mean,
Unfortunately, keep everything.
we'd be writing it, and then there should be a central location to send it out, and it should come from Rangeley.
Is there used to be, I used to have a place where I could send a press release and they then
Would
forward
distribute
it
it.
everywhere. Is there one that you use here in
That's what we
Rangeley?
used to do. for
At
our press
Saddleback,
releases.
we had, I had a company that I worked with that I just sent them my press release, pushed the button, and they
Did you
sent
pay
it
for
out
it?
to
Was
like
it paid?
50 different places.
Was it a paid service?
No, it was out of Portland.
We don't use that. We manually pick the 4 newspapers and basically send them the same email.
Thing is, a lot of people don't
Yeah.
read newspapers.
Well, you
So
damn
you
right they don't.
You gotta get it on the digital platforms.
They usually do that too. If it's printed, they usually put it on the digital.
Yeah, like the Bulldog is only on it now, so.
Yeah, and see, we do traditional mailings.
I'm gonna ask Chris. if
Because
that
we
was-
have
that
such a
was
senior population, and we, they expect it, it's kind of like our tradition. And we've been talking about doing a newsletter anyhow. We kept waiting for good news on a number of fronts. And only one's so
Which one?
we updated our website.
That's awesome.
I activated their Facebook page. That was cool.
Here's another idea. We're getting ready to do a commitment, I'm guessing you guys are too, to spend mail out tax bills. Put something in the tax bills.
We always do a letter, 1 or 2.
But that would be a great
without
place to
dates.
put the press release.
You almost ready?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, just a
Yeah.
second.
No, we just have to keep the momentum going. And I
What's the
think-
date that you mail?
Well, we're looking at doing commitment on Monday, hopefully on Monday. And then we just send all the information out to the company that mails it out for us. We can have 2 items, at least 2 items in there, and the cost not go up.
Right.
I think there are some definite influencers in town that we could tap into.